So today, guys, we're going to be talking about the build we like to call the perfect one. And the reason why is because there are so many perfect talents on this build that you hardly ever see that on any other build. And it's probably because it's one of the hardest hitting rifle builds in the game. And if you guys remember, if you guys been playing for a while, this was probably one of the hardest hitting builds back in the day. And we kind of moved away from it, but you can still put this build together. And I decided to do this because a lot of people have been asking me for different types of builds. Some people like playing close range, some people like playing medium range, some people like that medium to long range, and then obviously you have your snipers who like to stay way in the back. Well, this build right here is probably the medium to long range, and if you need to use if somebody rushes you, well, you guys can. And as you guys have seen in the gameplay, it hits pretty hard. Yes, it does, and it's probably one of those builds that you have to play different because of the way the talents work on the build itself. So you guys want to see what the build is. I understand. Let's dive into it, and obviously we'll continue to show you more gameplay as we continue to do this. So let's go. So the first thing you guys need to do is you need to use the sharpshooter specialization. It's going to give you more damage with your rifles and marksman rifles. So since we are using a rifle with this build, you want to use the sharpshooter specialization. It also helps control the recoil a little bit on it. So there you guys go. That is a specialization. Now for our first perfect talent, we are using the Baker's Dozen. Now this rifle right here has perfect lucky shot. Magazine capacity is increased by 30%. Missed shots from cover have a 100% chance to return to the magazine. So as long as you're in cover, every 19 one of these bullets in this mag are going to count. So even if you're missing, until you hit 19 shots and you're in cover, constantly will hit 494,000 damage, 180 RPM, and then obviously the 19 round mag. We have rifle damage, critical hit damage, and then 10% damage to targets out of cover. A perfect rolled, perfect lucky shot, the Baker Dozen. This is the go-to. For the secondary, run whatever you want. I have the Scorpio on here. If you have the Ravenous, the Eagle Bearer, the Pestilence, the Sweet Dreams, the Nemesis, you guys can run whatever you want. Secondary, I'm primarily using the Baker's Dozen. That is my go-to. So for the mask, we started off with the one piece 5% weapon damage Walker Harris. This gives us weapon damage, crit chance, critical hit damage, and then another critical hit damage mod on here. So we did go with the Walker Harris piece. You could technically run with the Coyote mask. I did the damage numbers. It was really close between the two. And since we are already maxed out on crit chance, everything that's within, once we get to the 15-meter range or more, we really don't take enough benefit out of this mask. Now, if you're in a group setting, this would actually be really good. But since we'll probably be within that 15 to 25-meter range, the only benefit we're gaining from here is that 10% critical hit damage. So it's not really worth it to us. I felt that the extra 5% weapon damage from Walker and Harris would definitely probably help us out a little bit more. So there you guys go. That is what we ran with this build. Now for the sacrifice, this is the Name Providence chest piece. This has perfect glass cannon. Yes, perfect glass cannon, which is kind of sketchy, but it definitely does hit really hard. It has a 3-piece Providence is going to give us that 15% headshot damage, 10% critical hit chance, 15% critical hit damage. And then on here, on our core attribute, we have the weapon damage, we have the critical hit chance, we have the critical hit damage, and we have another critical hit damage mod. And then perfect glass cannon, all damage you deal is amplified by 30%. So that's why having more damage on the build is going to be amplified by that 30%. But think about this, all damage you intake is amplified by 60%. So even though we're hitting harder, we're taking 60% extra damage. It's a really scary build to run if you don't play it right. And that's why the skills I use kind of help me mitigate some of that taking damage, but just definitely have to play this build. That's why I say it's a medium to long range build. If we get into the knee pads, we have the Fox Parrot knee pads. This is a name piece with the 8% damage to target out of cover, which you can't get on any other piece. We have weapon damage, critical damage, and then obviously Overlord always comes with 10% rifle damage. So that helps out, right? This helps out your build. So that's why this right here is going to be something you guys want to put on your build 100% if you're going to run a rifle For our next name piece, we have the Contractor Gloves, another meta piece with the 8 damage to armor, the 8%. We have weapon damage, critical hit damage. Now, we aren't taking advantage of that Petrov, that 10% LMG damage. But if you do want to run a secondary as an LMG, well, there you guys go. But we are really using this for that multiplicative of that 8% damage to armor. And then for our backpack, our final and last Providence piece, the gift. Now, this is another Providence name piece, and it's crazy. The chest and backpack both name Providence pieces. Now, this is going to give us that 15% critical hit damage for the 3-piece. We have weapon damage, critical hit chance, and then a critical hit damage mod. And then we have perfect vigilance, increased total weapon damage by 25%. Taking damage disables this buff for 3 seconds versus the 4 seconds. Now, between the perfect talents, if you don't have perfect vigilance, you can still run regular vigilance. The cooldown time is just 4 seconds versus 3 seconds. And then with perfect glass cannon, the damage difference is 5%. Both very, very good talents you guys can run. And if you guys look at my critical hit chance, 53%, and we could get this probably to 54%. And if I really wanted to, I could put a crit chance mod and be at 60%. We're at 184% critical hit damage. We have 110% headshot damage. We have the 8% armor damage. And then we have that 18% damage to targets out of cover because we have it rolled on our weapon. And then we have the knee pads. So a lot of damage on this build, and that's why it hits so hard. Now, one thing I will show you guys is if you guys really want to take advantage of not being hit as hard, use a decoy. Decoys help you out so much. You throw it out there, the enemies tend to focus it, and that'll allow you to keep from going down, right? And then also keep perfect vigilance proc. So the decoy helps a lot. And then also your backup, the Crusader shields. If somebody does run you, you can pop this up, defend behind it, aim at the enemy, drop them, and then get back in cover. So these two are kind of my go-tos. It's really up to you how you guys want to run it, what skills you guys want to run. I really think there's a lot of different ways you guys can do this, but if you guys set this up right, you guys should have a ton of fun with this build. One of my old fan favorites, one of my favorite builds to run back in the day. I just don't really like running rifle builds as much, but I know a lot of people like that in cover type gameplay, and if that's what you guys like, this is going to be the build for you. We'll wrap it up here, guys. I appreciate the support, appreciate the love, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, hey, nothing but skills out.
Serious trauma detected.